You said it. Knockouts were always very, very, very strong numbers, and this is something too that I thought through as far as our ratings. If we're going to keep going into that, is that we never had picture in picture, and this is the era where I want to say Spike added a minute worth of commercial per hour than when we originally started because they were selling and create more revenue and all that. So I think there were some commercial breaks on our TV show that went up to a 4 minute break with no content. So when you think of gained and lost viewers, sometimes you put a 3.5, 4 minute break completely in a 15-minute quarter hour. It's not completely reflective, although you can't dismiss it. But yeah, that's the ratings game. That's why week by week basis, you can pull your hair out, kind of got to look at the quarterly rolling averages, as they say.
Well, it's worth mentioning too. This is the lowest rating TNA had gotten for quite a while at this point because you're head to head with the playoffs in the NBA. It's the Lakers versus the Nuggets. That's a big game.
Wow.
Then, now, forever. But I think sometimes people forget that, hey, you guys were battling that too. It's not just a function of, hey, it was WCW or AEW's battle, but you guys were battling there as well. The next week, you do a 1.18 rating. That's 1.6 million homes. I want to talk a little bit about Midway. They were doing your games, and it's written here in the Observer. Midway has a $33 million bid for its assets from Warner Brothers, as noted last week, which, if accepted, could doom the TNA game because they're not going to pick it up. Midway will be accepting other bids for its assets through June 24th, and a court hearing will determine high bidder on July 1st. Another bidder could pick up the TNA game, or after most of its assets are purchased from Warner Brothers, they may keep one development studio open and attempt to market the game, although most likely that won't happen. So we know that you guys were working on the game. Can you tell us a little bit about this Midway bankruptcy and how that affected you, or you were concerned at the time it might affect you?
Yeah, the game was out. I don't know what your specific question is, but um, the timing. I think the big issue was
Yeah, it came out the prior September, but I mean, you were going to do like a follow up, I thought, right?
the next game, the collections, the basically the overall deal and the relationship on game two, game three, game four, because they soaked a lot of money. We did that AJ Kurt Angle commercial spot. Midway soaked a lot of money into it. Their marketing, not like some major game, but they did put marketing power behind it, and it did relatively well. It didn't knock down. That's a lot of times that's a lot tougher market than people realize, but it did well enough to know that maybe a sequel wasn't a slam dunk, but yeah, it was. We were going to do another one, but Midway had much bigger issues than a TNA game. So that was, I'll say, Dallas's concern was where does the future relationship go and where do our collections go? Because the lead time on collecting revenue is substantial.
I want to mention too that we are not yet in the era where we're doing live TV every week. So here we're taping shows
Sure.
and we've got some Murphy's Law type circumstances. Here's an example. We've got a break between tapings and or between shows. So the guys are just going to stay on the road between house shows in the Northwest. But Samoa Joe is going to go work out, and that's what you do when you're a professional athlete. And he winds up suffering a torn tricep and then broken fingers too. Now, when you tear your tricep, most people would think you're going to be out 6 months. But here's the reason that's problematic in this case. Over the TV that's already in the can, that's already been produced, that is going to air in the coming weeks, he's eliminated Kevin Nash, Booker T, and Scott Steiner from the King of the Mountain match. So clearly you're doing something with Joe. You've got big plans for Joe. We're building towards this pay-per-view. And one of our guys now is hurt. This is like worst case scenario, is it not?
Not just one of our guys, maybe one of the guys. And
Yes.
that was and Conrad, I don't know that me and you have ever specifically discussed this kind of set of circumstances. So '09 ratings are good to really good, or the best they've ever been. The blue sky in front of us, probably in the existence of TNA, had never been this blue. Yes, our payroll had gone up, but we and I'll say this, Dallas made the decision, hey, man, there are opportunities through the 12-month rolling period. We can save or, yeah, we can put a lot of money directly to the bottom line. And so on a few of the 4-week arcs from between pay-per-view to pay-per-view, as opposed to doing pay-per-view on a Sunday, tape Monday and Tuesday, which would be Monday would be the following Thursday show, and Tuesday would be the next week's Thursday show, and then come back in 2 weeks to get the next 2 episodes. We decided that we were going to tape 4 shows in 3 days on some arcs, which was, and then just make it a one trip a month and save on talent and travel and all kinds of things. But that was, I don't say this as a bitch or a gripe, but that is the set of circumstances that our financial partner wanted because they wanted to see more revenue, more, um, you know, tighten up on expenses and which would obviously create more profit. It was really tough, but this bit us in the ass big time because Joe, and I don't remember the whole story about the fingers. I remember the tricep, and we had him the prior tapings kick everybody's ass to get him qualified into the King of the Mountain match. We had 2 King of the Mountain matches on the Slammiversary, the 7-year anniversary, and Joe was a featured player, and him getting hurt from a creative standpoint, we're like, all right, Joe, how are we going to figure this out? It ended up working out, but it was a tough ball shot, to say the least.
It looked like at the time we were going to wind down with Raven and Shane Douglas. It's noted in the newsletters at the time that they're going to be in for the last set of tapings and the pay-per-view. They're not going to be given long-term deals. And they're thinking about using Shane as a heel manager. In an alternate universe, I think Shane could have been a fantastic heel manager. Did you guys get too far down the road on that thinking? I mean, he could have been one of the all-time classics in that role.
So this was, again, such a, well, seemed like all of TNA time was unique. Going into Slammiversary, we wanted to do some callbacks because Shane worked with us in the Asylum days. He obviously had the ECW background when we were using Sabu and Sandman and all that. Shane was a producer for us at times. But at this point, when we wanted to give the event some nostalgia flavor, and that was why him and Raven were brought back for the show. But yeah, in an alternate universe, Shane, bigger guy. So I don't know if that's a plus or a minus as far as a managerial role. But man, yeah, he's a hell of a talker, a good heater. I mean, he, like a lot of folks from that generation, he didn't want to get cheered under any circumstances. So he knew what he was doing as far as pushing the right button.